So here I have the drawing that I did outside of plants in my yard and recording the sunlight that I could. You saw last time that I had just the white gel marker on there, and I went back in with some colored pencils into it to give it some vibrancy. The next step is going to be the first steps of weaving. So you saw this one earlier, and then I showed you I just finished this. They're not quite the same size, and I do have them the same orientation. So before I start weaving, I want to make sure that they are going to match up. So I'm going to lay them on top of each other, and I'm going to have to cut off a bit of it. So I'm going to trace around it on the back and trim it to be the same size. I've just taken a pencil and I traced around the edges of this, and you can see it. And now I'm going to trim it with my scissors really carefully so it's the same size. And here I go with the trimming. Can't really cut with my hand on the camera, but just showing you what it looks like before I cut it. And now I've cut it. Now I'm going to get ready to actually prepare the type of weaving. There are 3 different techniques attached with this assignment this week. You can look at them. I'm just going to do one of them. I'm going to do a basic one just because that will be easier to show you, okay? You're going to need a ruler. If you don't have a ruler to make markings for your weaving, you might need to just find something that is straight, like a piece of paper that's folded straight that you can use to make straight lines as you go about this. Okay, one of your sheets of paper is going to go vertically, one of them is going to go horizontally. I have made hash marks every ½ inch. You can make it any width. Do not go making it larger than an inch. That'll look messy. Also, one of the weavings is irregular shaped. You can do it that way as well. I'm going to go ahead and make them a little smaller because I want to see lots of really cool detail when I'm done. So here's where I started. I'm going to mark it on the other side, and I'll show you that in a minute. And now I've marked both sides of the hashtags. You want to make sure that when you draw through that they're going to meet up, that you're going to have them, so double check it before you start making your next lines. Okay, and here you have the first composition that has been marked off for the weaving. Make sure that everything is parallel. Don't be sloppy with this. Be accurate, or you're gonna have a terrible weaving. Okay, that's part of the assignment. So now I'll do the other one. I'm gonna be making lines the opposite direction. So you'll just see that in just a second. Okay, so now I've got the flower composition on the back. I have it vertically, and then I have the lines on this one horizontally. I've got it ready, so now I'm going to begin to cut really, really carefully. Be patient. Okay, I have very carefully cut these out, and I've left them right now in the order to which it was drawn. You might decide later that you don't want it necessarily in the same arrangement. You might want to do a random organization as far as if you're going to see the image shooting through the weaving or not. Give yourself a lot of room, and what I would do is turn over the pieces and look and see what you've got before, and then decide how you would like to, if you'd like to leave them in regular arrangement or if you want to flip them around. And you can put numbers on the back or not, it's up to you. But that could be your next step before you move on. So you're just kind of taking a peek at this, because the weaving is the important thing, not the technical part. It's how it looks in the end that's most important. That it ends up looking like a weaving, and that the image will be broken up in some way, but that you really like how it's broken up, that the composition is well thought out. And so you're gonna do that first before you cut the second set of strips. All right. After you have figured out what arrangement you wanted in, I turned them all over first, and then I flipped them back over after I looked at them, and I put them, I actually wanted to leave configuration the same as the drawing, but you can randomly organize, like I said earlier. Leave it there, and then before you cut this, it's gonna be a lot easier. You are going to, you have the opposite of this, correct? These are horizontal lines. But you're gonna make one mark first before you cut, so watch carefully. I'm gonna take my ruler, I'm gonna find the 1/2 inch mark, and I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna have to stop to do that, and I'll show you in just a minute what it looks like. I have added this extra line before I start cutting this. This is very, very, very important. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like when I cut it. Just a minute. Okay, I have started cutting a secondary one, and I just wanna show you how it looks. I cut it up to here. I didn't go any farther, so they're not gonna be detached, and you'll see why we do this when we start weaving, but you wanna do that with all of it. Okay, so this is the other one that I just cut, and I'm gonna turn it the direction, I'm gonna turn it this direction to start with, okay? And then I'm gonna flip these over so I can see them before I start weaving them. Okay, so you can see here that I have flipped them over the way that I want to add them, and I've taken the first one down here and I've added it here. Notice I've used an AB pattern. I started from underneath, and I would flip up either one, and I want to make sure it's pushed all the way up to where I cut. It's very important. You can see here that the cuts are going to be symmetrical. So I've put that one in, and now I'm going to put in the next one. I'll show you the pattern a couple times before you begin. If you feel like gluing as you go, you're going to put glue underneath this, and you're going to put glue on top of this. You can also wait if you feel like it. If you don't want to, you can use a spot of Elmer's glue or a little bit of glue stick. Okay, on second thought, it probably is a better idea to glue it down before you start the second one. For those of you that use thin paper, the reason why I said use thick paper is because this is not going to weave well. So hopefully if you use thin copy paper before you began cutting, you made your paper thicker by layering it and making your paper flat with a book. Otherwise your weaving is going to be very hard to do. Now you're going to see I've put in a second layer in here. One thing that's super duper important is that you use an opposite AB pattern. You should have a AB, 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 and then you should have a BA, BA, BA pattern. If not, you're not weaving. That is, there's other kinds of weaving, but that's what you should be doing in this project. Even if you have cut your paper different lengths, or if you've used like a weave, kind of a uneven line, like you'll see in some of the examples. Anyway, it's important also once you've taken it through that this is gonna sit, you know, you push it up as far as you can before you glue it. Like I said, you need to be very patient when you're doing this part of the project. No rushing, waiting the last minute. You're gonna be frustrated, and the goal is to be relaxed while you do this. Okay, I am a couple down, and what I'm doing now as I get farther in and I put a new piece in, where's my finger, there it is. I pull up the flap and I put glue underneath the ones that can flap up, and that'll create some strength. Make sure as you go that you're keeping it equal and they're close, as tight as possible as you add it. Okay, I have finished the weaving part and using my glue, but I could still clean up my edges, and so I'm going to show you one little trick on the back. I didn't end up using all my pieces, so if you want to work back into this, another neat thing to do is to take a strip and cut it in half and kind of put it in different places or play around with that, but you don't have to. But right up here where you made your line in the back, if you want to do this, you can fold it back and glue it down and give it a nice edge. And then here, glue back some of this and trim it. So I'll show you what that looks like. I had to get a little help for this. So I've turned my weaving over, And I am gluing the back pieces, every other one, like that. And you can see I've flipped this over and glued that, which was the top. And now I'm gonna add a little bit more to the end, and then I'm gonna snip these extra pieces off with my scissors. Cut. Good, turn it off. And here it is when it's finished. Now, I probably, if I were gonna keep going, I would probably draw into some of it. You don't have to do that, but if you feel inclined, you can do that. This is how far you need to be for your project to be turned in. I'm looking that you have, for composition, that it's clean and that you've woven together word and image, and that there's not glue showing, and it is neat and clean, and it is colorful. So that's what's gonna go into your rubric, so fill it out. And this will be your last official making project. Next week we will finish up with one little exit review. So I hope you are gonna come up to school this week and pick up your artwork. And if you didn't get something back, it's because I could not find your name on it. And if I accidentally put one in your portfolio that wasn't yours, I'm really sorry. It was a lot of work to get it ready. So please forgive me. And let's see if I can flip this around real quick. Okay, so we're getting to the end. If you have any questions this week, ask. If you're turning it in, remember to always add your artist comments at the end, what your process was and what your goals were. That allows me to see when you've sent a message that you've completed your work. Just uploading your artwork is not enough. It doesn't explain what you were trying to show me, and it's hard for me to grade it. So make sure you do that, okay? You take care, be well, be happy, and stay healthy.